The door gets kicked open, and these two guys are fighting. And I don't know, like, I kind of wanted to be like, hey, guys, stop, you know, like, relax. But something told me, like, Sabrina, move. Don't stand there, like, get out of the way.
I looked over, and my closet door was open, and there was a man hanging on a rope. You could see the rope going up to the back and, like, hanging from the top of the closet. And he was yelling at me, and I didn't know what to do.
My parents just recently split, so my dad got a new place and my mom stayed in the old house. And needed a bit of work. You can tell the house was like older, but just a few renovations here and there, and it would have been a great place. And I moved in to the back room of the upstairs. It was a very small room. And if anyone sleeps in there, they feel like so claustrophobic, and it's dark. And then after a while, I would hear things here and there.
Ghosts. They're scary, evil troublemakers. All the stories say so. Traditionally, ghosts are dead people imprisoned on Earth for the bad deeds they committed during their lives. Often they're looking for vengeance. That's why people are afraid of ghosts. We think they want to hurt us. What if some ghosts are benevolent and protective? Hi, I'm Lawrence Chow. Today in Ghostly Encounters, we meet Sabrina and Chelsea. They both have stories about ghosts that protected them. As a young girl, Sabrina Araya tells us she is terrified by the appearance of a ghostly male figure, and she prays for someone to protect her. Her prayer is answered, and Sabrina's protector arrives in a most unexpected form.
Every night I'd hear footsteps coming up my stairs. I was 10 years old. I'm like, who is that? I knew that everyone was asleep, everyone was upstairs, and I thought someone was coming into my house. I thought someone was breaking in. I was so sure that I was hearing these footsteps and didn't know what it was. I was scared. He had a heavy step. It was like a creaky, like, you know, it wasn't like a little like kid, or it was like an old man, like, and it just didn't feel like it was normal. Come up the stairs, walk down the hallway, and then would stand at my doorway and just kind of stare at me. It was like a black figure. Like a man figure, like tall, black thing, just staring at me from my doorway. I don't know. I don't think my mind wanted to see it. I think I was so scared that I didn't want to really see what it looked like. It wouldn't come in my room. It would just kind of stare at me. And then I would close my eyes and really hope that it would go away. I wouldn't get out of my bed. There was no way. And then it would walk back down the stairs. And I'd come back up the stairs, stare at me again. And it did it for like 5 times, back and forth, back and forth. It just repeated itself. And it happened almost every night. He was just trying to maybe scare me or trying to find out who I was. I was upset. I was like, I want to sleep, you know, I want to be able to sleep in my own house. I couldn't take it anymore. And I just prayed. I was like, okay, God, please help me. Like, I'm so scared. Can something protect me? And that's when she came. remember praying in my bed and hoping for something to help me, to give me some courage to deal with what was going on, because no one could help me out. Like, I told my dad what happened. He's just like, it's the house, it's because it's old. But it was more than that. When you can't sleep at night because you think someone's walking up your stairs, it's not the house making that noise, it's something else. I was tired of not sleeping at night and hearing this man or whatever it was, his spirit coming up and down my stairs. I called upon like anything, like just to help me. Like, I was so scared. I just didn't know what it was. That's when she appeared in the corner of my room. It was like a white, like floating image of a body, long black hair, big black eyes, pale skin, and big red lips. She was floating though. She wasn't standing. She was floating in the air. And at first I was scared. I was like, "Who are you?" "I'm your Aunt Maria." But this was in Spanish. So I said, "Okay." She said, "Don't be scared. I'm here to protect you." And then I went to sleep. I felt that she was a spirit. She was my like angel. Yeah, it was comforting when she came. I felt at ease. I felt safe. It was a different, whole like opposite feeling from having that thing walking up my stairs and feeling scared and not knowing what it is, and the soothing voice too it was comforting. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know until I actually asked my dad the next day. I told him about what happened, and he's like, that's your aunt. That sounds like her, that like the description you gave me. Then he started to believe me. He showed me a picture of her once. She passed away a while ago. She's a very kind woman, and my dad loved her very much. They just don't really talk much about her.
Aunt Maria was the matriarch of Sabrina's family, and all of her relatives loved and respected her. She died in Chile long before Sabrina was born. Nonetheless, Sabrina feels her aunt was with her throughout her childhood. Aunt Maria protected her from danger and helped her deal with the challenges of growing up. But when Sabrina was in her 20s, she needed her aunt even more than ever, and Maria's protection became a matter of life and death.
I was at a nightclub. It was like an after-hours nightclub. And we were just hanging out, having some fun, and then the door gets kicked open, and these two guys are fighting. And I don't really like to, break up fight. I just don't like to see them. I don't like confrontations or anything, and I kind of wanted to be like, "Hey, guys, stop, relax." But something told me, "Sabrina, move. Don't stand there, get out of the way." So, literally 2 seconds, I move, I stepped out, the guy pulled a gun and shoots him in the stomach. So I would have been right in the middle of that. I would have been dead. I wouldn't be able to tell you my story, She has my back, which is cool. I feel like there's something out there that I have to do and that my time isn't yet. I have a lot of things to experience before I leave this place and go somewhere else, you know what I mean? So I feel like she's helping me through the tough times. It's a gift, knowing that you're looked after. I think that she really loves me. She wants to know that I'm okay, wants to make sure that I'm safe. She's like a friend, a good friend that you rely on. It's like a big hug, a nice warm hug, but in my head. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like she's there and she's helping me and protecting me, and it feels good. I most definitely believe that everyone's angel's always gonna be with them. They're your guardian angel. They're gonna be with you for your whole life.
In the Christian tradition, guardian angels watch over us and sometimes intervene in human affairs. Some Christians, especially Catholics, believe each of us has our own guardian angel. Sabrina believes the ghost of Aunt Maria is her special protector. But Chelsea Williamson claims she has not one, but many ghosts protecting her.
I've encountered many things throughout my life that some people can't seem to explain to me. It was a mixed emotion. I wasn't quite frightened, but at the same time, being at a young age, and I hadn't really opened up to anybody about it yet because I didn't even understand it to myself. Being as young as I was, I didn't know what to feel. Like, I felt safe on one side, but at the other side, it's like, oh my goodness, what is this?
The world is a confusing place for a child. Throw ghosts into the mix, and it gets even more bewildering. Chelsea tells us that ghosts appeared to her throughout her childhood. Sometimes they were there to scare her, sometimes to protect her, and sometimes she just didn't know.
Ever since I was little, as long as I can remember, there would be a knight standing at my door. And I remember his weapon. It was like a ball with the spikes on a chain. And the way he was standing, he was facing out, so it almost looked like he was protecting me or protecting the room that I was in. And every time I looked at him, he would turn around and he would walk towards me as if I asked him to or something. And when he did walk towards, I didn't really want to look because I was scared, so I would turn away. I used to play this little game where, like, I'd look at him to see if he'd start walking towards me, and when he would walk towards me, I'd look away. And then I'd look over at the doorway, and he would be back there. Because I was so young, it was frightening. I didn't understand what he was doing there. I hadn't really talked about it too much to anybody, so it was like I was trying to figure out what is this thing doing in my doorway. I got used to him a little bit after being there, but there was still that little fear there, not knowing who or what he was. Eventually, my mom told me if I'm ever scared of something, I can tell them to go away. So I told him to go away. After I had told the knight to go away, I regretted it. I remember laying there in bed and hearing rustling around. So I looked over and my closet door was open and there was a man hanging on a rope. You could see the rope going up to the back and like hanging from the top of the closet. It was really weird because it was like he was moving and everything and he was yelling at me and his pants were like ripped and dirty. His hair was dirty blonde and his face was pale and he was a very ugly man. I didn't know what to do and I turned over, put my blankets over my head just praying that he would go away. When he was yelling at me, it was like, help me, get me off of here, help me. He was very scary. To go from a night standing at my door to this scary figure in my closet yelling at me was probably one of the most frightening things a little kid could see. He was still yelling. I could hear him. I'm trying to get him out of my head, and then I heard a noise. And I saw a couple of policemen. One of the policemen had stood out more than the rest, and just the look that he gave me was pure comfort, and I felt comfortable with him, and it was like he was telling me everything's okay. He's gone. You don't have to worry about him. You can go back to sleep.
Chelsea tells us the policeman ghost protected her from the hanging man and made him vanish. But is the hanging man gone for good? And will there be other ghosts to defend Chelsea if he appears again?
I went to the park with my sister. She was over at the playground area with her friend. I went off by myself to play basketball. Something caught my eye and I looked. And it was a man hanging on the rope again. And he was hanging from the swing set. I kind of stood there in fright. Oh my gosh, he's back. And once again, he was yelling at me, help me, help me. And I didn't know what to do. And I'm by myself at the other end of the playground. And I had looked over by the park bench and there was a black man sitting there. And I could tell he was a spirit. He was looking at me, so I knew, like, he knew that I could see him. And he was very tall. He was a big man. So he made me feel comfortable. I wasn't really frightened of him. And just the way that I've looked at him, like, it was like I was asking for help, and he went over to the man on the rope. And he told him that it was time to go away. He was dead. And it's almost like they just fade out. And they're just gone. And I have never seen either one ever since. With the man on the rope, on one end I felt a little bit relieved because he was gone, but at the same time I was still a little frightened that he had come back. I don't think he knew that he was dead, and he needed somebody to reassure that he was. If I were to see the hanging man again and have the chance pretty much to get him gone myself instead of asking for help, I think I would pretty much just tell him that he's dead, he has to move on, I can't help him, and he has to go to the light, to the other side where he will be happy, and there's people there waiting for him.
Sabrina tells us that her guardian angel, Aunt Maria, appeared because she prayed. But Chelsea claims that she didn't ask for her defender ghost to show up. Sabrina's protector, Aunt Maria, is a deceased family member. But Chelsea's spiritual defenders are strangers to her. Despite these differences, both stories have an important common element. Both Chelsea and Sabrina tell us they experience good and bad ghosts. From Sabrina's and Chelsea's stories, we can come to a conclusion that many others have arrived at throughout history. It would seem that if there is a ghostly world, it's a lot like ours, full of creatures, both good and evil.
Looking back at the protective ghosts, it's helped me a little bit knowing that not all of them are scary. Not all of them, like, they're not out to hurt you. And if you need them, they're there.
You just have to call upon them. You have to say, I need your help, because they won't come unless you ask them to help you. It's the one thing that you need to know about guardian angels. They're there, you just need to help. You need to ask for help.